Hello and welcome to Mabinda TV. So for now, I'd like to look at this is the Daily Show KE where I look at the top issues in Kenya, Africa, and the world. So for today, Raila Odinga has lost the AUC chairperson seat, that is the African Union Commission chairperson seat. So what next for Raila Odinga? I think for the it's time. Raila is losing again. So what is this losing streak with Raila Odinga? So basically, Raila had seen that was his way to retirement. So what next for Raila Odinga? Number one, President Ruto cheated him. President Ruto cheated Raila that he will make him the African Union chairman, but that did not go as the Djibouti candidate Mohamed Ali Yusuf basically emerged the victor, I think, in the seventh round. So basically now you see that this is why Raila Odinga lost that AUC seat, because I think Kenya does not have a huge foreign policy ideology. So basically, Kenya is, maybe we are even hated by the outside forces. So basically, Djibouti, the Djibouti candidate Mohamed Ali Yusuf had, he speaks French, Arabic, English. I think that is what propelled him over. That is the Djibouti candidate speaks French, Arabic, English. I think that is what propelled him to be elected, because he could reach out to Francophone Africa countries, and I think all of them, all of the African Union Commission chairpersons have come from the French-speaking countries. It was only Nkosazana Dlamini Zuma who came from an English-speaking country. So basically, that's the core of the French-speaking African countries that did on Raila Odinga, because Raila Odinga won in round 1, 2, and 3, and then of course he did not get the ultimate majority, that is 33 seats out of 49. So basically now that is another defeat in the basket of losses for Raila Odinga. So that is a very much that's a very tainted political career for Raila Odinga. Why does he keep losing at the important moment? Maybe he will have to do some introspection. What kind of a politician is he? Does he stand by his own ideals? That is Raila Odinga. Does he stand by his own ideals? So that's the kind of introspection that Raila Odinga needs to do by himself. Why can't he win at the most opportune moment? I thought the meeting between Musa Faki and President William Ruto was about to cement Ruto's, that is Raila's election, but it appears no, or maybe African countries are rejecting William Ruto, attempting to become a point man for Africa. Maybe that's what they are rejecting, that Raila Odinga in becoming a point man for Africa, because before the Gen Z revolution, basically President Ruto was like the point man for Africa for the globalists. For the globalists, I think William Ruto was the point man for Africa. So I think that's a rebellion against also William Ruto and his pro-globalist forces coming and helping Raila. So basically, that's it. So I think the friendship between William Ruto and Raila Odinga is now cut. Basically, the friendship between Raila Odinga and William Ruto is now cut. So basically now Raila Odinga will be his own man, and you can expect that. I think he will contest the 2027 election. He has nothing to lose. I think Raila Odinga will be in the ballot in 2027. So basically, you can expect that he will say he will die with his people. Of course, his people have told him to come back home, and they still need him. But of course, in some parts of Kenya, especially in central Kenya, there were celebrations when Raila Odinga lost the AUC chairperson seat. So that shows you how tribally divided Kenya is. You have central Kenya residents basically not going with the idea. You have the central Kenya residents not going with the idea that Raila Odinga should be the AUC chairperson seat. So now it is going to be another walk in the park. So basically, I've often said Raila Odinga is a very talented politician. He's a talented communicator, but when it comes to the cold calculating nature, then he lacks that. In terms of his organizational skills, I think he lacks that, and that's why maybe he keeps on losing at the last minute, and that's something that we must be able to point out for Raila Odinga. When it comes to cold calculating nature, he seems to bungle the process. So basically, now he is going to go back to the drawing board. You can't be sure that Raila Odinga will be in the ballot in 2027. So if William Ruto's goal was to exile Raila Odinga to the African Union politics and remove him from the Kenyan politics. That is now tainted. Now Raila Odinga will be very much, he has nothing to lose. He will be contesting the Kenyan elections, and so you can expect that Raila Odinga will say, yes, I have fought my best fight. I have finished the race, and now there is nothing more to lose. So I expect that Raila Odinga will basically be back to the political arena, and that's a failed policy for Kenya. So Kenya, it appears maybe you could find there are even brothers in East African community. Maybe I don't trust Tanzania. Maybe Tanzania voted for Muhammad Ali Yusuf. So you can't be sure that Kenya's place in the diplomatic community is a diminished one. So basically, we are not punching our weight. We are not simply punching our weight, and that is why our candidate Raila Odinga lost the election. So basically, I think that is something that we have to look into. But then now the full-scale political meandering begins. Now Raila Odinga will be going at it. He has nothing to lose. He will be cementing his place. But I think the Gen Zs are very happy. The Gen Zs are very happy that Raila Odinga lost because they say he sabotaged their union. That is, Raila Odinga sabotaged their revolution by bringing in ODM members to Ruto's cabinet. So you can't be sure that Gen Zs are very happy that Raila Odinga lost the election. They will be saying that yes, we told you that Raila Odinga is not his own man, and so basically you can be sure that they will be up in celebration. So that means that the Kenyan political theater will continue. Raila Odinga will vie for the presidency in 2027, I can assure you, and with his fans, they will still turn up for him. Remember, they have told him to come back home, they will vote for him, they will die with him. So that's what his core supporters are telling Raila Odinga, that they will vote for him, they will die with him, and so basically he should not lose sight of the fact that he has lost the AUC. So I think the African Union needs reforms. So what are the reforms that Mohammed Ali Yusuf is going to enact in the African Union? Number one, we need a single passport. We need a single passport to be able to travel throughout Africa. We need a single passport to be able to travel throughout Africa. These artificial borders they must be eliminated. I think we need to eliminate the artificial borders in Africa. These were borders that were created in the Berlin Conference in 1884, so they need to be dismantled so that we can trade and do business with each other. You can imagine intra-African trade is approaching 10%, while intra-Europe, intra-North America, intra-Asia Pacific trade is a whopping 55%. So you can imagine the largest trading partner of the United States is not China, as many people imagine to be. It is Mexico. It used to be Canada. It's not a neighbor, but now it's Mexico. So you can imagine the largest trading partner of America is Mexico and Canada. So basically, that is what we call intra-regional trade. And I think for Africa, we have a population of 1 billion people. For Africa, we have a population of 1 billion people. That is a very good market that you can imagine. If like Aliko Dangote is worth 10 billion, if Aliko Dangote is worth $10 billion by doing business in just a handful of countries, how rich would he be if he had operations in all of African countries? So I think if we trade and do business with each other, then we could be on our way to being to being that is to reassure ourselves that we will basically basically we will move around Africa and do business with each other. You see, why do we go to Dubai when we could go to holiday in Namibia? We could get the same desert experience in Namibia. So why do we go for holiday in Dubai? That's something we need to ask for. That's why I say the unity that Africa seeks should not be just in geographical span, but it should be in absolute Afrocentrism. That is the unity that Africa seeks should not just be in a geographical span, but in that is in absolute Afrocentrism. So that's the unity that Africa should be seeking. So then another thing that the new AUC chairperson should go after is another thing that they should go for is a single gold-backed currency for Africa. This is what got Gaddafi killed, a single gold-backed currency for Africa. That's what got Gaddafi killed, but we need to de-dollarize. We need to de-dollarize. You see, the BRICS countries are attempting to come up with their own currency outside of the West because this financial architecture was created in 1945 when the Western powers were still the power brokers in the world. But now it is no longer so. There are so many emerging countries in Asia that have eclipsed Europe in terms of geopolitics, in terms of the economy. So basically, I think what needs to happen is that the country must be able to African countries must be able to have their own currency. Remember, I think we will be fought very very much because of this policy. But I think what we need is just for African countries to be able to come together and then they can execute their own currency. Remember, whereas Europe was theorized, so the precision expert consultant makes the rules, whereas America was innovated, so the creative genius makes the rules, whereas China was a renaissance engineered, so the systems technocrat makes the rules. For Africa, it has to be 3D printed. All the things to make Africa greater there. You have dissertations, thesis statements, columns, opinion columns, books, conferences. They have all the things we need to be able to make Africa great. So we need just a smart executioner who is going to follow through. We need a smart executioner who is going to follow through towards remaking Africa, and that's how Africa will be able to become a great country. So how then the third thing is to have a standing army of at least 1 million soldiers. So that's what the next Africa Union Commission, that is Muhammad Ali Yusuf, needs to do. He needs to have a standing army of at least 1 million soldiers so that they can keep peace. Look at DR Congo. The country suffers because of instability. These people that profit from its minerals, they fund both sides of the war. So basically, they fund both sides of the war. So basically, they are going to be saying that we don't need. They are going to be saying that basically the Western companies, you see, DR Congo sued Apple over blood money. So you can imagine this makers, the coltan that is used to power the information revolution, whereas at the same time, DR Congo does not have a single mobile phone factory, does not have a single computer factory. So you can imagine that that is something that we must not tolerate. That is something that we must not tolerate. So that's how we keep going to the basics. That is, Africa must be able to have a standing army. Look at Cabo Delgado region in northern Mozambique. It was just a peaceful area, but then when it discovered deposits of oil and gas, all of a sudden there's lots of insecurity in the area. So you can imagine that basically that region is unstable, and I think the mineral wealth potential of DR Congo is worth about $30 trillion. But then, of course, you have it being a paltry $200 billion economy. So you can imagine these people are just coming to mine our minerals. They are not going to add anything to our resources again, and that is why I think we need to be able to have a standing army of at least 1 million soldiers. So that is the fourth thing that the African Union Commission chairperson should be doing is to be able to have a research fund of at least $100 billion. I think we need a research. I think if we had $100 billion for research, we would solve our most pressing challenges. The West, yes, sometimes they do research on African problems, but they do have their own immediate needs. So we cannot outsource this knowledge that Africa needs. We cannot outsource it to Western countries. I think African countries are advised by the World Bank and IMF that basically they should concentrate on basic education, but I don't think that's good at all. We need to generate new knowledge and research, and that's why our universities are failing because we are not producing new knowledge in terms of research. So basically, that is something that the next African Union Commission chairperson should be able to address. And then the other thing that the next African Union Commission chairperson should be able to address is to have the other thing that the African Union Commission chairperson should be able to address is to have $100 billion of venture capital. Basically, we need our own Microsoft, we need our own Google, we need our own Yahoo, we need our own Facebook, our own YouTube, our own that is our own X. Basically, we need our own platform so that we can tell our stories. And if we tell our own stories, I think that is how we will be able to we need you can't be sure there is an African that has an idea about Microsoft but has a better idea than Microsoft. There is an African that has a better idea than ChatGPT, but they don't get the support. So basically, that is what we need to be able to be doing to supporting Africans to be able to upscale the idea so that it can be multi-billion-dollar corporations. So we don't need there should not be an anomaly. It should not be an anomaly of an African owning a multi-billion-dollar company. So that's it about the vision policy statements from the I think. And then the last one is to build at least 30 Ivy League caliber research universities in Africa. That is what we need to be doing. These people are not doing that. We need to be able to build at least 30 high level universities in Africa. If we build 30 high level universities in Africa, African best minds will be able to interact with each other and they will be able to interact with each other. I think a Nigerian academic says that basically the great university is not by imposing buildings. He points out the Cavendish Laboratory at the University of Cambridge that it is just not an imposing building at all, yet it gave the world the DNA. So you can imagine that is the Cavendish Laboratory. So we need at least 30 Ivy League colleges. That is not going to create the next aristocracy for Africa, so that we can have Africans interacting, best minds interacting with each other, and then we can be sure that these minds will go on to remake Africa. So that's the policy ideology. I hope the next African Union Commission chairperson, that is Muhammad Ali Yusuf, is going to tackle. Of course, he won because of the geopolitics between Francophone Africa and the Anglophone Africa. So the countries that speak Anglophone French in Africa are a bit more, or maybe it was also as a result of the Western countries. Maybe the Western countries had a hidden hand. Maybe they don't want the radicalism of Raila Odinga. Maybe they don't want the radicalism of Raila Odinga. Maybe they think that Raila Odinga is going to be able to sway Africa towards China, being a communist, being a socialist. They say, and maybe they point out that he is not the ideal candidate to be able to carry out reforms, to be able to carry out capitalist reforms in Africa. That is why I think that we need to be able to point out that this was also a West election. The West also had a hidden hand. Remember, Muhammad Ali Yusuf had gotten an award for tackling piracy in the coast of Somalia. So basically, you can be sure that the West also didn't like Raila Odinga. Remember, in the 2022 general election, it was William Ruto that was invited to by this Brookings institution. That's a think tank that talks about economic matters, and of course Chatham House in London, to be able to talk about his political vision. But then, of course, it is William Ruto that was invited. It was not Raila Odinga. It was William Ruto that was the candidate for the West in the 2022 election. Raila Odinga used to be the candidate of the West, but not anymore. And now maybe that is why he lost in the first place. So that is it about Raila Odinga. What do you think will be the next course of action? I think he will just ride for the Kenyan presidency. I don't think it will be. I think he will just ride for the Kenyan presidency. I don't think that he is going to. I don't think that Raila Odinga is going to continue that romance with William Ruto is going to end. I think he will now be bare knuckles tackle. Basically, all the gloves are off, and it will be a bare knuckles tackle. So, what do you think will be the next? Course of action for Raila Odinga? What do he support? What should his supporters expect? So, bye for now. Now you can get my two books. One of them is the 1% Continent: How Africa Can Rise from Poverty to Prosperity, and then of course I lay out on what Africa needs to do to be able to become a superpower. And then the second one is the Give Us Your Best and Brightest: Why Are Africa's Best Friends Living? So basically, you can be sure that you will be looking at basically the flight of the best and brightest African the best and brightest African minds in the flight. So during slavery, we lost our most physically able, which was the economic differentiator at the time. And now with the brain drain, we are losing our best minds. So basically, our best brains are leaving Africa. At the same time, there are about 100,000 Western expatriates that are working in Africa. So basically, why not pay the 40,000 PhDs that money that we are paying the 100,000 Western expatriates? So that's it for now. And then remember to share, like, and subscribe, and comment on comments below. I like to see your comments on what you think is the future of Raila Odinga, basically having lost the AUC chairperson seat. So bye for now till the next episode. Bye for now.